that, because as you have said, Osun State voters are again marching towards to the polls. But then, to start with, on the question of godfatherism, many people would tell you that normally godfatherism ought to be another word for mentor.
Yes.
And that from that point of view, it ought not to mean something so negative. But within the context of Nigeria's political structure, which is a political process that involves a band of looters who pretend to be leaders, to be politicians, but they are just gangs, political bandits. That's what one of my political friends will call them, political bandits, coming together to decide how to steal the commonwealth of the country. So godfatherism in that context, inevitably, has the connotation that you have just described of using influence to enforce and impose the will of a tiny elite or the mass majority. And you have seen it play out in different ways. In Anambra years ago,
in Edo election.
In Edo, even in the Osun State election that we are witnessing today, the schism that has happened between the former governor of the state, Aregbesola, and the incumbent governor who is going for re-election, Oyetola, is also a reflection of the godfatherism syndrome in Nigeria's politics.
Still on incumbency, we know that there is a place of incumbency in every election. Now, let's say the president, for an example, is a leader of a party, right? Would you consider any influence he has on his party members as an act of godfatherism?
Then, and to add to what Khalid just said, you said godfatherism is also another word for mentor. So if I am the present governor of a state and my incoming governor choose me to be like a mentee, can we also tag that godfatherism, because we are still in the same political party?
Yes.
That's why I mentioned that within the context of Nigeria's capitalist political structure, godfatherism, which ought not to have a negative connotation, inevitably has a negative connotation, because the objective of politics is not for nation building. I'll give you an example.
All right.
ASU, for instance, as we all know, is one of the most credible union you can ever think of in Nigeria today. If you look at ASU's delegation for negotiations with government, we are going to see the current president of ASU. We are going to see at least 2 or 3 previous presidents of the same union.
Sorry to cut you short there. Viewers at home, you are still on to Capital Television electionary live process, and you can contribute to the talk show with the numbers showing on your screen. You can continue. So
you will see at least another 2 previous presidents on the seat as part of the delegation. And the reason for this is that ASU has been engaging with negotiation with government for donkey years. So it makes sense to have previous presidents who were part of the struggles prior to now to be present, to be able to offer advice and go. That is a mentorship process that you see, which has positive connotation.
Yes, it does.
So that's also how it ought to be, that if you have the present, a previous leader of a party or a previous governor,
and the
that
incumbent,
he has been part of the process. He knew how far they took the state before the recent one came in, so that he ought to be constantly consulted, for advice and all of that. But within the context of the, gangsterist,
it is not happening like that.
It is not happening, because as far as the previous governor is concerned, he wants to continue to steal the resources, even as someone who is no more in power. The person in power also feels that this is his own time. His village and his people are waiting for him to bring the goodies home.
Okay,
and I'll give you what I say, a perfect example for Osun, for instance.
Okay, the call has dropped.
When Oyetola was the chief of staff to Aregbe, so there was no policy or program of the Aregbesola government for all the 2 tenures I was not part of. But when he got there, he did some policy reversals in the education sector. He stopped the, the uniform, which was a very fraudulent project anyway by the Aregbesola government. because it involved bringing his friends who contributed to his electoral campaign and imposing them on the treasury of the state.
Well, recently during the APC presidential primaries, we see evidences of party flag bearers Bola Ahmed Tinubu making statements of his influence on the emergence of President Muhammad Buhari's administration and his emergence in office. Considering godfatherism as a key factor in politics, what do you have to say to this?
And well, no one can doubt the fact that the process rather that brought Buhari into power in 2015 is a product of the collective effort of not just Buhari but also Aregbe. I say
okay,
Aregbe,
sorry, we have a caller in the house. Hello, good morning. Your name and where are you calling us from? Oh, okay.
We lost that.
Tinubu and all of that. It's an information that is in public domain. So that's an example of godfatherism in a way. But we also have to ask yourself now, because that is where even the question for me arises. If for the past 7 years, the product of that union of the Tinubu political structure and that of the Buhari political structure, which produces current government, has led to the economic and social disaster that Nigeria has become.
Okay, let's take this.
Then what is the basis upon which...
Hello, good afternoon. Your name and where are you calling us from?
I am John calling from Port Harcourt.
Okay, glad to have you.
I am trying to move towards the analysis on your TV.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm always like, what is advising? The person should carry on. It's a good analysis.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Your question quickly. Oh, okay. A call to comment.
Yes.
You.
So, the point I was trying to finish on is that, so, if the same Bola Ahmed Tinubu is now saying he wants to run, then it means that Nigerians should just be ready for another journey of no return. So, it goes back to the point I was making initially, which is that godfatherism ought not to be a bad thing. But it is the question of what is the objective.
Okay, let's take this. Okay, sorry, let's go.
What is the objective? If the objective is to make Nigeria greater and better, we will not be talking about godfatherism in the way we are talking about it today.
Speaking of Osun election, we have 15 candidates that has been cleared. We have above 1 million registered voters. We have 3,763 polling units. Then we have about 87 observers on ground watching Osun election clearly, vividly. Everybody's monitoring it both nationally and internationally. You agree with me that Osun State is a land filled with scholars, just like Ekiti State?
Yes.
Now, comparing and contrasting Ekiti election with that of Osun election, godfatherism has come to play in so many instances. Now, let's just compare a little bit between Ekiti election and what we have been saying in the ongoing Osun State election.
If you look at both states, they interestingly share more or less similar history.
Yes,
political history. It's like a vicious cycle. Both in Osun and Ekiti, there's in the Osun election taking place presently, there's none of the principal actors who have not been part of the governance of that state at least in the past 20 years. And the same thing for Ekiti. The same political parties, the same individuals, the same programs. So that whoever win in the Osun State election today, just like we have seen in the previous Ekiti election, there's no way anybody can say a better life is in the offing. Why? It's because it's a vicious cycle. It's the same individuals who have just changed sides. And the ongoing Osun election today, except Adeleke, Ademola Adeleke of the PDP. But from the point of view of the PDP where he's contesting, it's still the same thing. But I'm only saying he's the only one who can even say that he has not been part of government. Oyetola has been there from the time of Aregbe. Interestingly, Yusuf Lasun, who is the candidate of Labour Party, has been in the government of Osun since the period of Akonde, since 1999. He was the PRO of the Alliance for Democracy in Osun State. And he also served under Odagusoye Oyilola.
So, bordering on that, whom would you consider to be particular godfathers or particular godsons, to say, in our Osun State?
It's difficult. I mean, well, in the APC, you can point to Aregbe, but his godfatherism appears to have been involved. And I don't know who I can refer to as a godfather in PDP. But the truth also is that positions are constantly changing.
Yes.
Don't forget that the current National Secretary of the APC is also a factor in the Osun State election. It was a factor in 2018, but from another party, the SDP.
However, looking at the electoral system around the world, there are traces of lobbying. We are all aware that there are certain people who hold key positions in when it comes to electioneering process. They're like people you have to go meet and talk to them about what you want to do. Now, going back to the Osun election, there are some loyalists that are so loyal to the candidate of this ongoing election. Is this not a lack of trust on the part of political aspirants?
For
loyalist godfather thing, it's not lack of trust, because
like where do you feel the loyalty
lies? Yes, is it in the hands of their loyalists or in the hands of their godfathers?
It's a question. I mean, we are still on the same point.
Okay.
When I gave you the example of Asu, you will see that there, in that kind of example, there will be no question as to what is the role of the principal actors, because the objective is clear. The union need to assemble all of its best, including present and past leaders, for the purpose of engaging a government which has been intransigent for decades on different issues that ASU has been raising about the funding of public education. So from that point of view, the question of somebody's integrity.
Okay, we have a caller. Hello, good afternoon. Your name and where are you calling us from? Okay, I think we have network
we lost
issues.
the call again.
Yeah, we lost the call
So
again.
the question of that would not arise. But in the current situation, those you call godfathers, they often have interests that are at variance with the interest of the rest of the population of that particular state.
Oh, more like a selfish interest.
A selfish interest of aggrandizement of, of helping themselves to the public treasury. The godsons are also opposed to the godfathers, not for the point of view of safeguarding the treasury of the state.
Yes.
But as I said, because they also feel a milocon, it is our own time to equally have access to the largesse. Don't forget that in the early 2000s, there was a legendary fight between one of the most historical godfathers you can ever talk about in Nigeria, that is Lamidi Adedibu of Oyo State, and Rashid Ladoja.
Yes.
That fight led to the, what do you call it? The impeachment of Ladoja.
The one happened in the state of recent.
Even in Anambra, in Gige also was kidnapped.
Yes.
And when Lamidi Adedibu was interviewed, remember what he said? That interview is still on YouTube today, up to today. He said, how can a sitting governor say he is controlling security vote of over 700 million or thereabout?
Okay, I'd like to ask.
And he doesn't think that he, Adedibu, who is in command of all of the armed and unarmed forces in Oyo State, that is dogs and co, should not have
access,
a percentage of that. And that's to tell you.
Sorry, going down the memory lane, like you said, has godfatherism in Nigeria been a way of amassing votes?
Yes, amassing votes, but also for the elite to help themselves to the treasury of the state. Because the electoral process is not an end in itself for the ruling elite.
Yes. Yes.
It's a process through which they gain political power. And political power has a singular objective for them.
Yes.
To have access to the treasury.
Yes.
So it is both interest for the godfathers, and that is why for the godfathers the question of who they put forward. In fact, there was a period in this country that they even said that they used to take people to the shrine. They have forgotten the name of the shrine somewhere in the east to go and swear oath in order to ensure that that agreement is solidified. So, but all of these antics and theatrics of the Nigerian political system, godfathers, godsons, what do they represent? What do they tell us? They tell us that the Nigerian political system, including the electoral system, is broken. The past 2 decades of Nigerian civil rule has demonstrated that democracy as its core, bourgeois democracy, is incapable of ensuring the kind of governance that would provide better lives and, living standards, jobs and opportunities for the mass majority of the population, including myself and you. And that is why the outcome of those elections constantly regurgitate this kind of contradictions we are talking about, of governance being dominated by, hostility and wars between godfathers and godsons, of the state becoming the collective patrimony of the people, the treasury, becoming, something that is captured by just a tiny elite who are now struggling for what percentage they get from it. Let's
go into Osun right now.
Yes.
Right now, there's a report that voters in Iragbiji, the hometown of Governor Boyega Oyetola, that they came out en masse to vote. They said they've been having votes for hours now.
Yes.
So do you think it's a thing of loyalty, or the influence of incumbency, or the influence of godfatherism? I mean, godfatherism from the top.
Well, I mean, you know that Nigerian people, they are very good. Nigerians are some of the best people. And you see that play out in different ways. And it also allows the different factions of the rural elite to be able to just take people for granted. That people are voting for Oyetola in his village is only because people will generally not want to abandon their son, even if their son is one of the worst kind of people. So that kind of loyalty, what is demonstrated to me is the goodness of our people. But the question is whether that will be replicated across board. Because the Oyetola government in Osun of the past 4 years represent more or less 4 years of pestilence for the people of Osun State. It's like when you beat a man down and you now begin to apply salt to his open wound. The Alagbashola government collapsed the Osun State economy.
And don't let us go in depth into that. But looking at the Nigerian politics, it is believed that when a present governor is running again for the seat of a governor or a president, there are low chances of him losing such election. Do you see that play out in Osun election?
Yes, I mean, yes, that was exactly what played out in 2018. The use of state power, to barrier their way through. And that can still play out. But the problem now is that if it plays out a second time, it's likely that the loyalists of the other side will take it as they took it, last time. So that also the prospect, of some kind of protest or
are you saying
riot
violence may end up playing out?
It could. Because we have seen the tension in the state in the past couple of days, just before today's exercise, it's very obvious that the situation is charged. And given the complete non-performance of the incumbent, many people, even though they do not in any way expect that the PDP represent any breath of fresh air, many people just want to use this election to clear out the Oyetola government. There are pensioners who have not been paid. There are workers.
Something of such happened in Ondo election. Everybody wanted to use Eyitayo Jegede to clear out, I don't want to use the word bad governance of Akeredolu, but what happened after the counting of the election? Akeredolu emerged the winner of Ondo State election, and he was taken to court, but he still won the case in the court. So what do you think will happen in this Osun election if he won again?
It's impossible to really predict accurately what would happen.
Yes.
But the point I'm trying to portray is that workers in Osun State, civil servants, treasury, who have been owed 30-month salary, contributory
we had of 20%
pensioners who are dying.
Yeah.
Many of them will be waiting to jubilate at the end of today, open with the expectation that Oyetola will be defeated. So if that does not happen, so there's likely going to be gnashing of teeth, cries, or even some protests in a few places. But the point we must also make is that because when we begin to hear from the field, and I hope that we will hear from the field in the course of this conversation, we'll be able to even know what the mood is. But what I also know for the past few months is that even though there is a mood to clear away Oyetola, there is very little enthusiasm towards any of the other options on the table, because people know them. The PDP is known by all of us, for instance. So what good can come out of the PDP, whether nationally, whether in Osun, whether in Lagos, whether anywhere? They are vultures. They do not even pretend. Anywhere they descend upon, they will collapse.
So in your opinion,
from that point of view, it also means that despite the mood I've just said about people wanting to clear out Oyetola, you may actually have very few people coming out to vote with the feeling that, well, even if Oyetola is defeated, whoever comes in, whether PDP or another, they are not hopeful that anything will change.
Maybe it might do worse.
But which PDP state in Nigeria today can you say that Nigerians living there are enjoying? Is it in Rivers State, where Wike is the Lord of the Manor? We are in the, I don't know how to put it, but between the devil and the deep blue sea, and we need to break out of the vicious cycle.
Vote buying, if Oyetola starts saying is losing maybe in more than 14 local governments or more than 9-10 local governments, don't you think vote buying will come in?
You know, as a result of
paying
pressure.
People, because
vote buying has started already. Before I came here,
complaining in Osun State.
Before I got here,
okay,
I already got informations that vote buying has started.
Yes, I saw a report that,
although what is that there's a parity. 5,000 naira on this side, 5,000 naira on
as high as 10,000 naira. I heard.
As high as, and it will keep going higher.
The thing is that as the afternoon begins to creep in, and people begin to get restive as to their chances, the largesse will also be increased. The thuggery will be increased. The ballot snatching will be increased. Hooliganism will be increased.
But do you think that refers to the 21,000 police officers that have been deployed to Osun State?
That's what?
The 21,000 police officers that were deployed to Osun State. Don't you think they can mitigate this issue of votes buying?
The policemen themselves, are they not?
Observers are also on ground.
The police, are they not involved in the vote buying? But when you begin to see the pictures of police units that have been ransacked later on in the afternoon, you will see police there with them. Because for the police too, just like other people who will come out today, there's also the feeling that the politicians have been cashing out over all of us. Delegates in the PDP and APC in their primaries cashed out with millions of naira. So for those who have PVC, they see this election as a way to also cash out. Police also feels that it's a way to, so you now have a unanimity of cashing out of, and that means that the integrity of the election, no matter what INEC says at the end of the day, this is going to be a very untransparent election at the
truth. There's nothing new in Nigeria again. Anything can happen. But now we have about 21,000 police officers among other sisters security agencies on ground. We have election observers both online and on site.
Yes.
We also have pressmen from different media houses.
Yesterday, somebody was arrested.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon. Your name and where you're calling us from?
Hello?
Hello, good afternoon. Your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm from Kogi.
Okay, your name?
Aziz.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, the issue of vote buying, they want to stop, it's very easy to stop now. It's very easy.
How?
They will, especially when the vote commence, they should not allow it get to stay there. They will probably get away. When the vote have started to count, they now allow it to be coming. That's the only thing they can start vote buying. That's all.
Thank you very much.
They should grant them away from the polling list. when the vote are sent, then when the elected vote end, they want to start the vote counting. They allow agents to come and be the witness. That's the only thing that can stop the signing vote. Because it was agents as communicate the parties, the leader of the party, that these people, this person votes for us. If the agent is not there, it's not go there. Nobody will certify that we have voted for this one party or the other. That's the only thing.
All right, thank you very much for Kogi.
During the vote period, let agents should not be there.
Okay.
Not let agents should not be there during the vote period. But when they have started casting votes, then agents will appear. So that you can stop the vote by this. That is all.
All right.
This solution.
All right.
Thank you for
very
calling.
much. Thank you for calling.
In his opinion, he says the agents should not be there. So do you think this is a way of, eradicating vote buying?
The problem is that, I don't even think it is, because you know that when you are talking about buying, you are also talking about selling.
Yes.
If there is no seller, there will be no buyer.
Buyer, obviously.
True.
So the point I'm making is that there are ready-made sellers. There are people who feel this election is nothing will come out of it. Politicians are cashing out.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Your name and where are you calling us from?
Hello?
Your name and where are you calling us from? Okay, do well to call the number showing on your screen again.
So those people, no matter where you place the agent, they are going to sell their vote. In the election, people even came on Facebook, some young girls in a video and said, hey, we collected 10,000, we collected this, we have cashed out. So there is that one already on its own. Then secondly is that even if we say agents should not be at the polling unit, the shout will be that.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, your name and where are you calling us from?
Yeah, calling from.
I didn't get that. So your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Mondo State.
Okay, go ahead quickly.
Yeah, I think the way to stop vote buying is those agents, they should be far away from
the polling unit.
Yes, they should be far away. So that's the way to eradicate that. And after the conclusion of the election, then they can now come in to stand for their what's it called?
Their political parties, yes.
Yeah, I think that's another way that we can eradicate the vote buying, rather.
Thank you very much for calling. Yeah, he said, according to him, he said, like the first caller said, making them move away from the polling unit is the way out of it. Yes,
well, like I said, so far there will be no sellers. If there are sellers, regardless, people can sell their vote right from their house before they last step to go to the poll. The other thing is that, how do you guarantee that when agents also have a reason to be at the polling unit? It's also to safeguard the process to ensure that nobody is stuffing the ballot paper. So how will INEC guarantee that if agents are move far away, that the integrity of the ballot box, will be safeguarded? So do you think? But agents are also there to monitor the INEC officials themselves. So I mean, I see that would be really a serious one in terms of implementation. But the key thing for me in terms of stopping vote buy, first thing before I even go there, I should say that what the INEC commissioner also said a few days ago, that INEC cannot stop vote buying. It's a complete bulk passing. It is a lie. It is bulk passing, and that must not be accepted.
He also said
in the electoral heart, there are clear, because we must also call out INEC that INEC is actually an accessory to all of the electoral malfeasance going on in Nigeria. INEC is the no. INEC allows it. There are laws, there are provisions in the electoral law that empowers INEC. We have to
go on a short break now. When we return, the Osun election process still continues. Please stay with us.
The Osun gubernatorial election is here. All governorship candidates of the various political parties have emerged ahead of July 16th governorship election as the people of Osun State would elect a leader. Join us 9 a.m. Central African Time on the 16th of July on Captain TV News as we bring you updates and live reports as Osun Decides. The Osun gubernatorial election is here. All governorship candidates of the various political parties have emerged ahead of July 16th governorship election as the people of Osun State would elect a leader. Join us 9 a.m. Central African Time on the 16th of July on Captain TV News as we bring you updates and live reports as Osun Decides. The Osun gubernatorial election is here. All governorship candidates of the various political parties have emerged ahead of July 16th governorship election as the people of Osun State would elect a leader. Join us 9 a.m. Central African Time on the 16th of July on Captain TV News as we bring you updates and live reports as Osun Decides. The Osun gubernatorial election is here. All governorship candidates of the various political parties have emerged ahead of July 16th governorship election as the people of Osun State would elect a leader. Join us 9 a.m. Central African Time on the 16th of July on Captain TV News as we bring you updates and live reports as Osun Decides. The Osun gubernatorial election is here. All governorship candidates of the various political parties have emerged ahead of July 16th governorship election as the people of Osun State would elect a leader. Join us 9 a.m. Central African Time on the 16th of July on Captain TV News as we bring you updates and live reports as Osun Decides. The Osun gubernatorial election.
Glad to have you back. You're still on to Kaftan Television, reaching you live from our studios here in Lagos, Nigeria. And now we'll be joining our correspondent who is on the field, David Awokwet, reporting live from Osun State. And glad to have you, David.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, David. Where are you at the moment?
I am at Ikirun at the moment.
Okay. So what is the situation going on there?
Okay, early this morning when the exercise started, there were complaints that the VAS system was not working for about 2 or 3 hours. So the INEC officials were not able to find solution to it, but they immediately requested for other machine, which was subsequently sent to them. So it was the other one that they started using from a few minutes ago. So the election has started now, and people are exercising their franchise already.
So what's the security situation too?
Yes, of course, there's no issue at all concerning the security situation. Okay. They are here in their large numbers to make sure everything is in order. And as I'm talking to you now, members of the security personnel, they are here at this particular polling unit. I don't know if you can see them behind me now.
Yes, we can.
Yes, they are here in their numbers, and then they are here to ensure everything goes peacefully.
Okay, comparing what happened in Ekiti election, David, do you smell or foresee any action of vote buying and selling?
No, not at all, not at all. We've not recorded any case of vote buying whatsoever, and I've been to at least 3 or 4 polling units now, but we've not seen or we've not recorded any case of vote buying at all.
So you can relatively describe the election as being free, fair, and credible?
Yes, so far it has been free, fair, and credible so far.
And how would you describe the statistics? Do we have more of youth voting?
Hello, I can't hear you.
I said, how would you describe the statistics of voters? Would you say we have more of youths voting or the elderly?
No, as far as the statistics is concerned, I can clearly say that we have more of the elderly and notably the women. We've not seen much of the male youth to come out and exercise their franchise. Majorly, we've seen elderly ones and the women.
Okay, so we can simply describe Osun election as an election that lacks youth inclusion in voting.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so now let's talk about the staffs of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and other sister agencies there on ground. How effective are they delivering their services?
Of course, I've been able to interview a few of the electorate, and they've all given kudos to the INEC officials. They've done their work. They came here on time. They came very early. They've been here around as early as 7 a.m. doing their exercise just to make sure everything goes as planned. So they've done well, and we can give kudos to them.
And speaking of the press freedom, has that at any point been a way maybe anybody's trying to stop the press from filming or recording what they should record?
No, not at all. There has been no issue at all whatsoever. The exercises are going on smoothly, and then there is no case for alarm at all.
Okay, do you have any further questions?
No.
All right, thank you very much, David Awokpet. We'll do well to call you as the program continues.
No problem. I'll be expecting.
All right,
Thank you.
do stay safe out there.
All right.
Thank you very much. All right, as we've heard David Awokpet, our correspondent reporting live from Osun State, he said the election is going smoothly. The staffs of the Independent National Electoral Commission are delivering their duties as expected. The Nigerian police force and other security agencies are also there. But he complained of the elderly people, especially the female, coming out to vote. What do you have to say to this?
Well, I mean, the first thing is to say that it's still too early.
Too early. This is
to have
one.
I mean, but it's also about having the full picture from other areas.
Okay.
You know, that is what will give us a clear picture of these demographics. But it's also not surprising, even from what he has said, that you have more elderly people, because it's a pattern that we have seen even in previous elections. And I think what it speaks to, you know, is the fact that for young people, you know, especially the educated ones, there is this disillusionment,
okay,
you know, with the electoral system. There is a feeling that nothing will change. There's also the question of what options are there really among all the contenders. So for many young people, it's like, I don't need to bother myself going when I already think that the outcome will not make any difference. And for the elderly, there may be different motivations, you know. One of which I already mentioned the other time. I said for civil servant, for retirees, there is a sense in which this election is like a make or break for them. They need to make a statement, you know. So that also could be a reason. Then from the point of view, I mean, of vote buying and all of that, even though the person on the field has said he has not seen any, but from what we have seen with previous elections in Nigeria, the widows, the elderly and co are easily, organized by all these community leaders representing the different parties. They are vulnerable in the sense that because of their level of poverty and co, they can be easily seduced by some of these things, and they will be bossed down to the place. So that you could even when your correspondent says he has not seen any vote buying, it could even be that the situation, the things already been done at certain levels before getting to the polling unit. But in any case, like I said, it's still too early. At the end of the day, we'll get the full picture. But then, what thing strikes me from the report, you know, and that is the fact that there was some complaint about their, I think, if I had it very well, the accreditation process.
Yes.
And this is like a teething problem. It's like, no matter how well or how much INEC claims they are ready for any election, there's hardly any election in Nigeria that these complaints does not occur. And it then raises the question that if in these off-cycle elections, some of these technical issues are still resurgent. How prepared is really INEC for the 2023 general election when it will be administering a larger geographical area?
But can I ask you, youth inclusion in politics, you would agree with me that on social media now we've been seeing the way youth seem to have been exposed are ready for the forthcoming election. In Osun election, we are seeing more of the adults, like the grown-up adults, and less of the youth. And we keep claiming, okay, we want the youth to be fully involved in politics. They have been saying on social media, yes, of a truth, no polling unit on social media until you come out of your house to vote and be voted for. What do you have to say to this youth inclusion in politics as we have less of the youths out there exercising their franchise?
What it tells you is that the young people are the least likely to be easily cajoled by the ruling elite. I've always been reasoning with people that this thing doesn't indicate apathy on the part of the young people. It means that they deliberately exclude themselves from the process to make a statement, because we've been getting it wrong in terms of how we describe some of this voting behavior. It's called apathy and co. But the same young people that we say are apathetic, in October 2020, they came out in their millions.
Yes.
To make a political statement. They were not just talking about NSAS. They were also beginning to make point about the policy of government, the kind of government they needed and co.
Yes.
That's a referendum in a way. So if those young people could come out for a reason, do not come out during the electoral cycle, it tells you
but
that they see nothing.
Don't you think it would have a negative
effect? They see no
effect?
party that can drive them to come out. And the day they see such, then something is going to change in this country.
And you don't think it would have a negative effect? You know, you mentioned the fact that the elderly can be easily cajoled
Yes.
against the youth. Now, you know, now having more of the elderly, you know, participating in elections, participating in voting, you don't think it might create a negative effect on the results? Because we already have youths who cannot be cajoled, separating themselves from the election process. And now we have more of those that can be cajoled. Now, don't you think it would have a negative effect?
No, it will. It will mean that all of what is wrong with the electoral process will just continue to be solidified, to be strengthened. You know, that is what it means, because the young people have excluded themselves already. But then that also means that Nigeria is being prepared for a major outburst, a major explosion. It may be electoral, it may be extra electoral, but to say that the population of young people in this country who feel challenged by all of the economic and political malaise will not respond one day to try and change the direction of the country is to be living a lie. It's going to happen. If it happens electorally, we will see it in the sense of an election actually having record level of participation of young people.
Let's include our viewers in the discussion. Osun Decides 2022. The election process has been ongoing. A lot of reports have been coming in from our correspondents on the field. But you viewers at home staying tuned to Kaftan Television, you can do well to join the conversation by calling the number showing on your screen. Over to you. Okay, we have a caller. Hello, good afternoon. Okay.
Yeah, we lost the call again.
Yes, do also keep calling the number shown on your screen to be a part of the conversation on the ongoing Osun 2022 governorship election. Over to you, sir. You were saying something.
So the point I'm trying to make therefore is that, there will be a response. You know, if that response comes electorally, we'll see it in terms of record level of young people participating, and that will be new voters. That will be voters that cannot be easily be cajoled. That will be people who will be going to the election with the mission of using their vote to actually make, transformative changes. And that can cause a rupture, a disruption of the system. In a way, in the ongoing preparation for 2022 election, we are seeing something that is looking in that direction, but it's not yet clear. We have seen an effort by young people to try and register. There's even a question of the need for INEC to extend the voter registration, and all of that. We need to see all of this pans out, but I still think that, things are not yet there. Young people still feel that there's nothing on offer that can really excite them, that can make them enthusiastic. And that is an indictment on the ruling elite. That's an indictment on INEC. That's an indictment on the political system. I mean, for instance, INEC continues to claim that one of the greatest challenges they have is the high number of political parties that exist.
Yes.
And as a result of that, they registered my own party, the Socialist Party of Nigeria. I told you when we started that I contested for Ogun State House of Assembly. I'm a young person, you know. But INEC, after the election, decided to deregister us. And what was the claim? Because we did not win any seat. But what we are seeing today is that parties that are winning seats are not winning seats because they are popular. They are winning seats because they have the resources, you know, to muzzle their way through, to pervert the electoral process, to compromise it, and to force their way through. In 2018 general elections, what happened? I said Osun State election.
Yes.
What happened? Gubernatorial election. The Oyetola won by 482 votes. In the first round of the election, Ademola won. But the only reason why it could not be declared was that the margin of his vote was lower than the number of council votes in 7 polling units. So the run was not declared in those 5 polling units. And on the day of the run, the Oyetola government deployed all the weapons of war, all the forces. People were screened right from a kilometer away from the different polling units. Those who are said to be PDP voters were beaten. And I'm not saying this just at the base of rumor. A journalist who covered that election put up a Facebook post yesterday detailing his experience. Say he has never told anyone before what he experienced. He was beaten together with his colleagues. Their cameras were taken, their phones were seized. And that was how the governor was able to muzzle it. So parties that are able to do this are the ones that INEC claims have the qualification to be registered political parties in Nigeria. And that is what is perpetuating this, what we call apathy on the part of young people. Because Socialist Party represents a new, you know, way of doing things. Our party is ideological. Where you have in an election parties that says the same thing, candidates that are the same, and you want people to come and disturb themselves to think that if they vote either this or that, something different is going to happen. We are just fooling people, and people will not allow themselves to be fooled. And that is why many young people are not participating. So we need to demand that, you know, the electoral system should be reworked in such a way that, you know, young people, socialists, people who have a different ideology and idea of how Nigeria should be run, should be able to stand for election, so that we can even see whether these people claim they are popular are actually popular. In my area where I contested, my area is Olambe. I stay at Olambe, which is in Ogun State. It's in need for local government. And I contested on the program that I want to go to the House of Assembly to go and fight for development. Not to go and apply for to go and fight, because it's an area that has been abandoned by successive government in the state. So they muzzled their way through, did not win the election. This is 4 years after I still live in the area. Anybody who is living at Olambe, I hope they can call in, either Olambe or Akute or wherever. It's tale of woes, especially in the rainy season. No transformation, no change has come. So what that is to tell you the consequence of not allowing new layers, new people, new forces, people with different ideas to come to it. And INEC has become like a gatekeeper for this broken electoral system. It wants, you know, only parties that are qualified to stand. It wants them to be the same parties that we know. The same parties all of us are complaining about that are not performing.
Yes.
So we need to demand, you know, for parties like ourselves, parties that are saying something different, to be able to stand for elections. And we need to say that parties do not have to have a national, geographical spread. It's a lie. It's bogus democracy to say unless a party has national spread, that's why it can stand for election. If people in Agege feels that their current issue is the issue of flooding, and they float a party that say anti-flooding party, a party that wants to conquer the problem of flooding in Agege, and they are just based in Agege alone, they ought to be able to contest for elections in Agege without having to say that such a party must now have national spread, must now be present in Oyo, be present in Abuja, where they do not where they are not concerned.
So do you think that it's a deficiency of the Constitution? It's
not, yes, but who wrote the Constitution? Some people wrote the Constitution, the electoral law and co, in order to foist on all of us the domination of the elite, the capitalist elite, on the electoral process. Because like I said earlier, when I was trying to define the electoral system, I said the electoral system, I said election is not an end in itself. It's a means through which the elite put themselves in power to be able to have access to the Commonwealth. So what they have done with the Constitution, with the Electoral Act, is to put forward provisions that will only ensure that only members of the elite would have the right to partake in the process, while the rest of us stand as spectators. And we cannot continue to stand as spectators. But politics is about our lives. Look at yesterday now, they said that the inflation has risen to over 18%.
Oh, yes.
I bought fuel this morning, 230 naira per liter. 3 days ago, I bought for 220 naira per liter. Our wages as workers has not been increased in the last 5 years. And prices of food and co has increased over 200%. Many people can no more go to work on a daily basis now because of the high fears. And that is what politics has done for all of us. And that is why we cannot continue to take it that this mainstream party should continue to determine our destiny. We have to rise up. And I'm serving this notice that if the people in charge of our electoral system do not allow for people to be able to express themselves through the process and through the ballot, people will express themselves through other means to be able to change their life and change the direction of this country. And that's what we call a revolution.
We cannot keep folding our arms as youth till things get better. We have to keep trying. Because a tree we definitely cannot make a forest. Yes. So it needs the combined efforts of all of us. Now we are saying the youth refuse to come out because probably who they are rooting for did not emerge as an aspirant. How do we now bring a change? How do we now enforce a change? How do we, the youth, come out to speak? How will a third first come to power? How are you sure that if a third first should come into power with the backload of what is happening, are you sure it will not affect negatively the upcoming 4 years in Osun State? So many things are happening, and so many things might happen.
The Nigeria ruling elite needs to decide before the 2020 general elections.
The elite alone
need to decide that whether they want the Nigerian people, including the young people, to change the direction of this country through the democratic process of election, or they want the Sri Lanka approach. You know what happened in Sri Lanka over the past few weeks? The president was first, the prime minister, I think, was first sent packing.
Yes.
Later on, the president was sent packing.
And everybody was in the presidential suit.
And then the person who was who started acting as the acting president, there's also the move to send him packing. That's the revolution taking place in Sri Lanka today. And that is what happens when you do not allow people to be able to express their desire for change through the pathway of the electoral system. Nigeria has also gotten to that situation. If you ask yourself today that, given the array of candidates and parties for the 2020 general elections, especially for the presidency, that what is going to happen when that election takes place? Is Nigeria going to change for the better? I'm sure that you yourself, you know that for the main candidate that you know that are on offer today, if they should come to power, it's going to be another disastrous 4 years.
So what I think you have to start giving your parting shot on the program because we are wrapping up.
Well, my parting shot is very clear. For Osun State people, for Ekiti people, for people of Nigeria, for young people, what this rigmarole of the past 2 decades of civil rule has shown to us is that it is not just enough to go and vote. There's also the question of what is the program of the party, what do they stand for? Parties that stand for privatization of the Commonwealth, that stand for commercialization of public education, are never going to result into outcome that benefit the rest of us. And that has been our fate for the past 2 decades. We need a new kind of government, a government of the working people, of young people, and with socialist program. Nigeria is too rich for any one of us to continue to complain of hunger, of poverty, of lack of jobs. It is capitalism and the corruption of the capitalist gangsters who are in power that has led us to this debacle. But we have the power in our hands, the workers, the youth, to change this. We need to build a mass workers political party. The Labour Party currently is not yet that kind of genuine mass workers party, but we hope that it can be built as such. But what we need ultimately is a socialist revolution to turn Nigeria in the direction that we want, which is the direction of having a government that uses the wealth of this country to transform the lives of everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Very
Mr.
thank
Hassan.
you for coming. Really do appreciate it. Like our guests have said, what we need in this country is revolution. And everybody is an architect of the future of this country. This is what we're wrapping up the Osun Decides update for now. To hand over to our other team, please make sure you're on standby. Stay tuned and keep watching Kaftan Television. And there is still more to bring to you on the Osun Decides 2022. Please stay up with us.
The Osun gubernatorial election is here. All governorship candidates of the various political parties have emerged ahead of July 16th governorship election as the people of Osun State would elect a leader. Join us 9 a.m. Central African Time on the 16th of July on Kaftan TV News as we bring you updates and live reports as Osun Decides. The Osun gubernatorial election is here. All governorship candidates of the various political parties have emerged ahead of July 16th governorship election as the people of Osun State. Join us 9 a.m. Central African Time on the 16th of July on Kaftan TV News as we bring you updates and live reports as Osun Decides. The Osun gubernatorial on the 16th of July on Kaftan TV News as we bring you updates and live reports as Osun Decides.